Hi. A few days ago, I posted a video which was basically a walkthrough about how an organization can monitor attendance using this software. It's called Odoo. It's been around for a while, and our agency has used it from the first year of our operations till date. It's proven to be quite effective at helping us manage our resources. In fact, one time when we implemented remote teams using the task management tool, we found out that we achieved over 400% reduction in expenditure, and it was really phenomenal. It's hard to explain how that happened, but the truth is this: once you're able to monitor how resources are used, both time and data and other resources, you'll find that waste is actually checked. So we've been having fun using it within our agency, and I figured I'll just do a video itemizing certain features that human resource personnel would love, which starts with the attendance management system. So first of all, after the user logs in, the first thing they see is the messaging interface. Now, the module is called Discuss. Is the first thing you see, and when you click on it, it basically loads that interface. Now, I'm going to be running this with the administrator view, and then I'll do a brief practice using a staff view. So for the administrator, one of the key things is to be able to have a bird's eye view of the entire organization, which is really what most managers want. We can interface with customers and respond to memos or service requests using this interface. So let's assume this person says they just want pricing information about our services. I think sending our catalog would be sufficient. Now I can go in and respond and say, hello, demo. I think you're right. And I can actually send a response, and this response, you can see message sent in pricing information of services. This is a document that is part of the communication platform that this also handles. This will do a video later about that. Now, that message would appear on the messaging interface of the staff who I responded to. We're going to jump into the attendance module, and here I can click on attendances, and here it's requesting that I check in. The administrator's name on the human resource file is Peter Parker, and then I click to check in, and now it's checked me in at 1:04 in the afternoon. So this tracks my activities as an employee and allows me to also monitor the attendances of other employees. So if I check here, this is my attendance for the day. However, I can actually also go into other employees and view their attendances. So these are the attendances of this employee. I can filter based on today or the current month, or just view my attendances, or I can group by employee. So as the human resource officer, I can view exactly when an employee walked into the premises, and I can also track when they log out. Another cool feature is the timesheets system. Many people ask, okay, so let's assume my staff needs to work from a remote location. Let's say my staff is pregnant and she doesn't want to continue straining herself in traffic and so on. Or you're running a creative agency, and most times creative people tend to complain that by the time they've gone through several hours of traffic, they need some time to get into the creative mood, and that usually takes time. And so by the time they're settled and they want to start creating, it's late in the day, and then they just have maybe 3 to 4 hours of actual creative time before they have to close work and then start heading back home. Now, I've found that it's beneficial for creative people to be able to dive into work immediately as soon as they wake up. Some creative people actually tend to work late into the night because it's quiet and they can focus, and they have a lot of reasons for doing that. People in a structured organization tend to say, okay, I get you need to be creative, but we need a system of checks and balances. We need to know, we need to be able to defend your salary. Now, to be able to accomplish that, the timesheet system comes in very handy. Now, let's assume I've logged in as a remote user and I need to explain or record my activities for the day. And so today I'm working from home and I want to record that I have been busy designing a screencast for the organization to further enhance our inbound marketing strategy. So I go to the timesheets tool, then I click on create. Now I've already logged in, my attendance has been recorded, and I want to say, okay, I'm recording timesheet screencast. Now this is part of a project that we're working on, which is let's call it research. Okay, e-learning integration sounds nice, and it's part of a task which, okay, I can actually create a task. So record screencast. All right, so I just created a new task under the e-learning integration, and let's assume I've spent 1 hour doing this recording. I save my timesheet. Now, when I go back to my timesheets, I find that my entry has been logged, and these are my timesheets for the week. And when I'm done with this, I can also enter, okay, I spent still on e-learning. Okay, I spent time editing the timesheet screencast. The descriptions don't have to be verbose. All you have to do is have just summarize what you're trying to accomplish. Okay. Okay, I think I'll leave out the task. We'll figure that out later. And I spent an hour, 40 minutes working on the timesheet screencast. Now, when I go back, you can see that my timesheets are being recorded. Now, if I were to do a review on my time allocated or time spent on company tasks for the week so far, it shows me that I've spent 2 hours 24 minutes so far working on the organization's projects. Now I can also do a selection, and it shows me the selected items time spent. Now, for a 40-hour work week, it's easy for an HR personnel or an HR officer to go through the timesheets recorded by the staff, and if it equates to 40 hours, it means that the staff has reached the required amount of man hours to be spent on official work. Well, now once it's time for salaries to be paid, it's really easy for the human resource officers to go over to audit the timesheets and figure out, okay, whether the timesheets add up, both in man hours and also based on the type of task that the individual has been running. It's important as a business for us to be able to monitor how company resources are spent. And so if we're hiring an individual who's meant to work for the organization for 40 hours and they don't have to be at your office or at your central location, but they can work from anywhere they live or wherever they are, it's important to be able to defend their activities and also to be able to track and audit whatever it is they are reported to have done. For example, let's assume I have a task here that says set up landing page for screencast, and this is still under the e-learning project, okay, and I claim to have spent 2 hours, okay, setting up this e-learning landing page. Let's say in 2 weeks I'm given a similar task, and there's really not too many bells and whistles to be put on the landing page, and I claim, or the staff claims, to have spent 4 hours setting up the landing page. During the audit, it becomes necessary for the officer to say, look, I'm not going to approve your timesheet until you can defend why you spent 4 hours on creating a landing page for your screencast as opposed to the 2 hours you spent the other week. Now, of course, there will be some back and forth. Oh, I had to do XYZ. I had to, and they keep explaining things, about why they spent more time working on that task for that particular week. Well, at the end of the day, if the HR officer is convinced, they can go ahead and approve their timesheet and, of course, their salary for the month. So this way, you can monitor the output or the input of your staff, whether they are working on location or they are working from a remote location, and you can begin to streamline how much time is spent on actual company projects and how much time is spent by them doing other things. We have these concerns as business owners that every minute that is meant to be spent on corporate tasks is actually justified and actually recorded and accounted for. So this is what the timesheet will allow you to do, and in the end, you'll find that a lot of waste will be curbed. People who would normally spend time watching YouTube videos or on social media would actually know that they need to account for these hours spent in the office and that there will be an audit. Now, what I always advise business owners to do is figure out a way to ensure that their employees are always engaged. For service companies, it is true that they don't always have projects on the table, but that is not the time for the staff to engage in other things that do not contribute to the growth of the business. That's the time. Those off-season periods are the times when the staff can actually contribute to internal projects like an e-learning platform that the organization or the agency might be setting up, or other pet projects that they're working on. Those are the times when the staff can begin to add to those projects and make sure that the company is closer to their release dates. If there's no such project, the staff are also encouraged to work on ideas that also add value to the offerings of the business. So let's assume a staff has an idea for an app. They can actually begin recording their findings on the app. For example, let's say, okay, so there's an off season here, and this individual decides, okay, he's spending time wireframing telecommute app, and then it's part of a project, an internal project called research and development, and he spent an hour. Now let's say he spent 50 minutes working on that wireframe. He accounts for that. Now it's clear that he didn't have an official project to work on, but he spent time during office hours contributing to the growth of the organization. And then he says, okay, I've done the wireframing, now I want to boilerplate the features of telecommute app. Okay, so still under research and development, and he says, okay, he spent 2 hours boilerplating that app. Now the amount is monetary value that can be placed to this task, to the number of hours. For example, I could say, if this is a paid task, I'm being charged 5,000 naira an hour, and I spent 2 hours. So when the report is returned, that means that I spent 10,000 naira, on the project, and the client we're working for has to reimburse us. So that's a topic for another day. I just wanted to explain what the amount section represents. So this staff saves this timesheet. So he's effectively spent 2 hours, over 2 hours working on the wireframing app, on the telecommute app, and he's accounted for those man hours. Now, when he looks at his report for the week, he can see that already on a Monday he has accounted for 6 hours, of the 40-hour work week. And a 40-hour work week usually breaks down into roughly 5 hours a day, I think it is, or is it 8 hours a day? So already the 8 hours for Monday is almost accounted for. This also helps with organizations that want to begin to fine-tune their payment structure to become a per hour worked payroll system, where you're actually paying staff per hour. So if a staff does overtime, it's actually adds value to the company, because those man hours actually contribute to the company's bottom line. At the same time, the staff who record overtime also can be sure that they will be compensated by being paid for working over and beyond what they were contracted to do. So that's for the timesheets tool. Now, as an administrator, I can view all of the staff who are employed at the agency, and I can actually tell who is working currently or who is logged in currently and who isn't by the green icon beside their employee card. So this user has logged in, all these other users who are on the red are not logged in, and then this user as well is logged in. So when you decide to filter by people who are absent, you can see that most of them are absent today. I think that's what that shows. You can also group this card by departments, managers, and so on. And you can also go into the employee who is logged in, and then you can view their timesheets. So this shows how many hours they've worked for the month, and so on. You can also view their pay slips, how much they've been paid so far. This is the pay slip for the month of April, and you can go in and view those pay slips. This is a recording of how much they've been paid for that month. You can also view their contracts. The contract is a way of automating their pay slips. So you can configure the computation of their pay slips here and declare that their contract is running and so on, and it actually translates to how their pay slips are presented. Now, the badge system is a system of identifying staff who are doing well, and you want to publicly acknowledge them. All the private information of the staff, including their bank account details for salary payments, identification numbers, passport numbers, and so on, addresses, date of birth for birthday celebrations, and so on, and also HR settings. Leaves. This records how many leave days they have, the medical exam documentation, vehicle license, or company vehicle allocated, and so on. The distance between the workplace and their home, and this is the badge ID. Now, this is used to generate the barcode for the staff. Now, you will recall that the first thing we did was to punch in our attendance. Now, in this case, the staff have the power to go in and click on the attendance button to sign in. In a case where you run a factory or you run an establishment where remote telecommuting isn't exactly the norm, you can actually print badges for the staff, and those badges would carry unique barcodes. I'd like to preview this. So you'll see that that the badge contains a barcode. This barcode over here contains the fine details for the staff, and the attendance system can be connected to a barcode scanner. So staff can actually walk through the entrance of the premises, then run the IDs through the barcode scanner, and the system clocks them in as having been at work for the day. This can actually be customized to carry a different design, so it doesn't look as plain as it does here. But I just wanted to show you that all of this is possible. So you can print out the employee's ID card, and so on, and get more detail from this interface. You can also send direct messages as the HR officer to the employee, and you start a correspondence internally using this platform. All right, so we're almost through with the HR module. Here we have the payroll system, which basically shows you all the payroll generated for the staff, and you can go over and review each of the payrolls and each of the payroll documents for each staff, and determine what needs to be adjusted and what needs to be approved. Then you can also monitor leaves, which is really popular. People get sick and they need to go on leave and so on. Here, the staff can actually jump in and request leave days. So I can come in here, double click, and say, okay, I want to go on leave on the 30th. So I can double click on that date. I can say corporate trip. Claim is a corporate trip. So I won't be at the office, but it's meant to be unpaid, since maybe I want to engage in some discovery. So this is going to be a 1-day leave. I could call it a 4-day leave if I'm traveling far away. And then I can save. Now I'm recording this as a manager, so I can see the approve and refuse buttons. But if I were applying as a staff, I wouldn't see this button. So I just requested leave for the 30th. You can see that it's been recorded already, and it's not been approved yet. So if I were to go in there and say, okay, leaves to approve, I click on leaves, it should show me all of the, look at this, corporate trip. All right, so it's meant to be approved by my manager. And so if I were to be the manager, I could go in there and edit and drop a comment. Kindly explain what the trip is meant to achieve. Sorry about that. Achieve for the organization. And I can save that, still send a message and request more. Hello, more detail is required. And it's sent, and it pops up on the employees dashboard as a message, and it can also arrive in their email, so they can see that they have a response and they need to attend to it. So that's for the leave system. And of course, if all the back and forth is concluded and it's meant to be, and it's approved, I can, the manager approves the leave, and you can see that once it's approved, it disappears from the approval list. So we've handled timesheets, employees view, attendances, payroll, and leaves. We haven't handled expenses. Expenses are really cool. This is actually part of what we implemented that helped us cut down on unnecessary expenses. We had people who needed certain things paid for, and they had to actually record their expenses in order for their accounting department to remunerate them. So if a staff went for a meeting and spent on lunch with a customer or clients, you can state it here and say they went, let's say they had, let's just say lunch let's just call it lunch. Okay, and they spent 5,000 naira a head, and he took 2 people out, including himself, 3. Lunch with clients to discuss app. Okay, this happened last Friday, and along with all of this, okay, this is for the employee to be reimbursed. So the total is 15,000 naira. Please ignore the $sign. The software is completely configurable and comes with the naira currency. So maybe during the next screencast we can include that. So the expense has been recorded and request to reimburse, and this is submitted to the manager. Now it's submitted, the manager then has to approve or refuse. Of course, then again, here within the system you can actually have a conversation with the employee to defend this. If the employee needs to attach a receipt, because most organizations or accounting departments demand retirement to be done with receipts, you can click on log note and the employee can now attach the receipt. So let's say they have a scan of the receipt, they can attach that and say receipt attached. So that would help with the retirement process and log. Now this basically takes care of the whole paperless system. Within the interface, the account department can actually review such documents without needing to view paper. Paper can still be used if they choose to, but this is really a cool way of recording expenses across the organization. And once that has been sorted out, the manager can click approve, and that then raises a payment request at the accounts department. So that's really how that works. Now the final tool within this suite is the recruitment tool. This in many ways is my favorite, because one thing every organization does is to hire staff. So as part of the process of the hiring process, there's the resume or the application process. So the organization usually requires the staff to the candidates to submit an application on their website or forward the application to an email address. Here we're going to test the website submission protocol. So let's say let's assume we want to hire trainees, and we're going to visit the website front end, and we will be applying as a trainee. So all right, so I did not enable the front end viewer, so we will be skipping that, and that will be another screencast. So that's purely on demand, I guess. So if you want that to be the next screencast, you can let us know. Or if you have questions about what more this software can do apart from HR, and all of the tools that we've itemized, do let us know. Now this is an alert that has been programmed into the software, we did that as a reminder for staff across the organization to remember to sign in their attendance. Now, this is for an organization where the staff are required to sign in themselves, so they need to manually get into the attendance module and sign in to register their presence in the organization or at the organization. However, for organizations that would be placing a barcode scanner at the entrance or fingerprint reader at the entrance, this would not be necessary, since already they will be required to clock in before entering the premises. So we'll be stopping our presentation at this point, but I think what we'll do here is view applications that have been submitted on the recruitment system. So we can pick applications for Chief Technical Officer, and then within this interface you can see applications submitted. This would show applications that have come in, and those that are submitted from the website would be located under initial qualification. And once the human resource department feels that they are a good fit, their application is dragged into first interview, and that is where maybe the interview is carried out online, or they have to appear physically for an interview. Once they scale through, they are moved over to second interview, and then if they pass, they then move over to contract proposal, where the terms of their employment are further discussed, and if everyone is happy, then the contract is signed. And that once this is clicked in, this automatically means that they are hired, and an employee account is automatically generated for the staff. So that's basically the process. And if you have any questions, do let us know, and we will make sure that you get an answer either with a video, or we can send you a written response if a video would be unnecessary for that answer. So thank you for watching till the end of this video. I would like you to let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to do a screencast about, and we will be sure to make that happen. Thank you for being with us up until the end of this really long screencast. Bye-bye.